Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting chapter from grade 10th CBSE, A Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot. The narrator of the story is Mr. Herriot. He is a veterinary surgeon. He was really worried about a dog named Tricky. He was shocked to see him with his mistress. And he had become hugely fat like a blotted sausage. His eyes had become red. They were watery. And his tongue came out from his jaw. He was in a state of disease. Tricky's mistress made Tricky ill. The mistress of the dog was Mrs. Pumphrey, and she told Mr. Herriot that the dog seemed to have no energy. So she gave him more malt, cod liver oil, a bowl of Horlicks, also some cream cakes and chocolates, despite Harriet's refusal. It is a rich diet, at least for a dog. So Harriet looked at the dog again. His big trouble was that he had become greedy. He never refused to food. So Harriet asked Mrs. Pumphrey if she had been giving the dog plenty of exercise. She said she had not. So Harriet warned her that if she does not cut on his food and give him more of physical exercise, he would be really ill. She said that he was right, but it was difficult for her also. Mrs. Pumphrey justifies that she does take him out for walks once a while, but he's not playing his ring-throwing exercise as the gardener who takes him out to play is not coming these days because of pain in his lower back. So Mr. Herriot was watching them go and looking at Tricky walk unsteadily. He was looking at the tweed coat that Tricky was wearing. He had a wardrobe full of such coats, raincoats for the rainy day. So as expected, within next few days, Mrs. Pumphrey calls Mr. Herriot that Tricky isn't eating anything. He refused to eat even his favorite dish, and he spends all his time panting. So the narrator had made his plans well in advance. He suggested that Tricky should be hospitalized for about a fortnight. The lady almost became unconscious. She was sure that if she doesn't see Tricky, both of them, they're going to die. So the narrator took the dog in his car. Mrs. Pumphrey gave Tricky's belongings like his bed, cushions, toys, various bowls, coats, etc. At the hospital, Tricky looked down at other dogs. They sniffed around it and ignored him. So the narrator kept an eye on Tricky for 2 days. He gave him plenty of water but no food. On the 3rd day, he started responding, whimpering on seeing the dogs. When the narrator opened the door, Tricky quickly came out and was surrounded by Joe, who was the greyhound, and the other dogs. He followed them into the garden. In the evening, the narrator was present at the dinner time and was watching all of them, especially Tristan, the household dog, as he was slopping the food. When the dogs had finished, Tricky walked around the empty bowls. He also licked them. It meant he was hungry. So from next time, he was given food in a separate bowl. He started to show some progress, but he was not given any medical treatment. He ran about with the dogs all day. He discovered new joy of being with other dogs. All the other dogs accepted him as a family member. Meanwhile, Mrs. Pumphrey continued ringing regularly, more than 12 times a day. She asked various questions about Tricky's health, but the narrator told her that the dog was out of danger. So now she started sending 24 eggs every day for Tricky. But Harriet and his partners would have 2 eggs each for breakfast. Then, to improve the quality of blood, Mrs. Pumphrey started sending in bottles of wine. And then it became Mr. Harriet's habit to have 2 glasses of wine before lunch and a few along with it. Mrs. Pumphrey started sending brandy, and the hospital staff relished it, enjoyed it. After 15 days, Tricky was ready to go back home, and Mr. Harriet called up Mrs. Pumphrey to come pick him up. And within few minutes, a long black car came outside the hospital. She asked him if the dog was better. And the narrator told her that the dog was fine. He would bring it to her. So when Tricky saw his mistress, he jumped into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap and began to lick her face, started to bark. So the narrator helped the driver to bring out Tricky's various things, which included his beds, toys, cushions, coats, and bowls. In fact, they had not been used. As the car moved away, Mrs. Pumphrey leaned out of the window, tears stoned in her eyes. Her lips trembled. She told the narrator that it was actually a triumph of surgery. So that's all about the chapter. I hope you've understood it. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe it. Thank you. Bye-bye.